always told us that we could choose our church and we could be what we want.
You choose your church when you're an adult and your brain.
Well, I hate the church we have right now. So I would prefer not to live it.
What about Mormon church?
No.
Really?
Yes.
There's a real fundamental difference here. It's like Mary and I sort of feel like we're not doing anything but just giving them a social opportunity.
I know that you think it's social. So it's hard for me to sit here with these kids and say, oh, it's no big deal. It is. It's huge for us.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Last week we learned that Janelle Brown does not want to be friends with Robyn Brown. Robyn said that she had reached out to her and had wanted to mend fences and try to restore their relationship, and Janelle said that there was a lot of hurts in their history and she wasn't sure that she wanted to go back into that.
Yeah, there is some history there in the past that, my desire is there.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, oh, do I want to do this again?
I was trying to figure out if there was some sort of reason. What was this history that Janelle was talking about? And if you're like me, you have back to the roots in the beginning of the family and find out what happened. And I learned very quickly that the hurts and the issues that she has with Robyn have to do with how Robyn joined the family, the financial stress it put on the family, and then how Robyn treated her kids that impacted Janelle's interest in having a relationship with her, as well as how Janelle described Robyn's relationship with Kody. So Robyn and Janelle's relationship has never been like friendly. They barely have a relationship. So when Robyn joined the family was going through some considerably difficult financial stresses.
So that's where I'm at, and I'm angry. So I'm having a hard time reconciling this thing that's not logical, that I'm totally fine with Robyn. She's great. I have no problems with the marriage. I'm excited about her coming into the family. And yet I find myself being so illogically angry. I haven't been angry or jealous or anything.
No, I'm sorry. It is logical to be angry. Yes, it is. I mean,
and at the time of the filming, when they shot their first season, Kody and Janelle were working full time and Mary was working like a part-time job that wasn't bringing in a ton of money, but because of the way that the finances worked for the families, Kody and Janelle's income was basically keeping everyone afloat. So when Kody brought Robyn in, he decided that Robyn was not going to work and she was going to be like a stay-at-home wife and stay-at-home mom. And she was going to help pick some of the slack up for Christine, because Christine had been working and living and doing the mom thing for years. And there was a lot of kids and she had a baby, and so having Robyn be able to help was supposed to be like super critical. Janelle in the very early seasons was very stressed out about adding Robyn and her 3 kids to already limited resources, and at times seemed as though she was a little bit resistant to not only Robyn, but this idea of having to financially support more people without any income coming in. That when Robyn moved to Utah and she didn't have a job, she was still frustrated with Robyn. And then on top of that, so there's the financial issues that Janelle was like under because she was like working, and so she's gonna have to now support the new wife, concubine, whatever. On top of that, Robyn came in with a whole different set of like parenting style that was completely different to the way that the other 3 parented. Robyn was more of an emotional parenter. She was someone that kind of, as Janelle would say, babied her kids and was more emotional with her kids, and her kids would cry easier. And something that bothered Janelle was that Robyn would like interject herself into decisions about the older children that Robyn was not actually a parent to.
At a certain age, when they actually have their frontal lobe completely grown.
That's true.
What the heck is a frontal lobe? You always told us that we could choose our church and we could be what we want.
You choose your church when you're an adult and your brain.
Well, I hate the church we have right now. So.
She's giving her opinion. That's why.
Okay, I want to go hang out with youth kids from another church.
So Robyn would typically like push her agenda, or she would be pushing her thoughts on faith, her thoughts on what she thought the family should be doing. Robyn came in extremely devout in the faith. Robyn came in very devoted to the principle. And because of that, the way that the family had been sort of on this trajectory of, we're going to let our kids do what they want, we're going to be open, they can decide their own lives, we're not going to force them into polygamy, Robyn didn't like that.
There's a real fundamental difference here. It's like Mary and I sort of feel like we're not doing anything but just giving them a social opportunity. And I understand that the three of you are a little bit, you don't see it that way.
How can we not sit there and feel stronger about where we're leading our children?
I mean, we all have some very different opinions here, and we could debate.
And there was like an episode very early on when they moved to Las Vegas where Robyn was kind of disagreeing with them about allowing the kids to join a youth group at a Presbyterian church, because she felt that they needed to live this faith and teach their kids about this faith and bring the kids around others that are in this faith and not allow their kids to stray from the faith. And she got into an argument with Maddie. And obviously this argument, you could tell that Janelle was very angry. So she would insert herself into situations where Janelle just sort of felt like Robyn was overstepping her boundaries. On top of that, she also had another baby, which again made Janelle feel financially stressed out. So they moved to Las Vegas. She gets pregnant with Solomon. And again, Robyn was not working. So that frustrated Janelle. She's trying to tell Janelle's kids how to live, try to changing the dynamic of the family. And it just created this just tense relationship from the beginning. And then Janelle was not a fan about how Robyn her relationship with Kody. She actually called Robyn a damsel. And she said that Robyn was the kind of person that would create sort of a emergency, and she would always need Kody to like fix things, and that she didn't like how Robyn was so needy of Kody's time and how needy she was of Kody. And
when I first saw how Robyn ran your relationship with Kody, I'm like, oh my gosh, this helpless, playing the helpless damsel, and wanting Kody to do these things for you, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
How dependent she was on Kody, and she felt that Robyn should be more independent. Robyn, for her part, said that Janelle just felt more secure in her relationship with Kody, and she's still working on her identity in the marriage with Kody because it was new. But long story short, Robyn's belief system and her ideas about life were just so in contrast, where Janelle was like, live and let live, and Robyn was like, we're going to do things the way that the faith and the doctrines say to do things, which is more in line with what Kody believes, which Kody believes, like, let's do what the doctrine says. Knowing that there's this history of disagreements with the kids, struggles they had around money, and issues with how Kody and Robyn's dynamic and a relationship evolved, Janelle's history with her is very deep, and I do understand why she would struggle, because still to this day, it seems as though Robyn is using Kody, dependent on Kody, creates urgency for Kody to be there, creates drama for Kody to come to her. And in fairness, Robyn could be using this tactic because she knows that she needs Kody, and she's got young kids, and Kody is going to likely be at Robyn's because Robyn is being compliant and she's not fighting him, but she's also causing disruptions for those that had good relationships with Kody before she came in, and now she's in a way monopolizing his time with how she acts and what she needs and how she gets his attention. In Janelle's mind, I'm saying. I don't really know the whole dynamic here, but that was sort of Janelle's mind. I can actually, in many ways, be sympathetic to Janelle. It's really a lot for a wife that's working full time to add another wife into the mix, and to demand that that wife also support the new wife and their kids. It's like, hi, can you support my mistress and her 3 children that are not mine? Thanks. And you're not going to get any more accolades. You're not going to get any more love in the celestial kingdom. You just have to do this because you're my wife and I'm the God in this family, says Kody. So it just puts Janelle in a very uncomfortable situation. Robyn and Janelle never had a good relationship. So Robyn can blame Janelle and Christine for clicking off and being cliquey, but I don't think it was like that. I think they had completely different dynamics with Kody, and the stress of adding Robyn and the kids to the family was just a lot for the family to handle. And for Christine's part, her and Robyn's relationship never started on a good foot. Like in the very first episode, Christine was talking about her stressful marriage with Kody, how unhappy she was. She was pregnant with her 6th child. He was courting a new woman in the middle of her pregnancy. He's barely there for the birth. After Truly is born, he goes on like a 2-week honeymoon, and she's left with her baby.
It is a little bit hard that Kody's on a honeymoon. And it is a little bit hard. It's different than just an anniversary trip. It's different than just going out of town.
It's 11 days that they're gone together.
I don't know what's acceptable,
baby.
but I think 11.
He is devoting most of his time, energy, and resources with Robyn and her kids because they need to be acclimated and felt comfortable in the family.
To me, I don't think Kody's very equal with his time. I think he caters to Robyn's needs, to Robyn's kids, to whatever Robyn needs. And I think that he's spending all of his time building up his and Robyn's relationship.
Kody has the kids calling him dad from day one, which I've never blended a family, but that whole mindset of like the minute you become a mom and a dad, or the minute you marry someone and you're forcing your kids that are not biologically the child's parent to call them mom and dad, it just seems very awkward to me. I think it should be up to the child. So I felt like there was a lot of like smushing and like merging the family so fast that like made everyone kind of recoil. And then the kids feel like they're getting sidelined because dad's now focusing on the new wife and the new kids. Kristen Decker told me that this is not uncommon when a new wife enters the picture because she is the fresh meat. She's the one that's going to have all the babies. She's the one that's going to be giving dad the new future. And polygamous men do not care necessarily about the wives. They're worried about having all of the kids for their kingdom. And whatever wife is bringing the babies in is going to be the one that they focus on. In some of these cults, the dads don't have any relationship with the mom outside of getting her pregnant. I mean, that's the sad truth. So Kody trying to act like he's a dad to these 20-some kids or 18 kids or how many, or I think 20 now at this point that they have, it's impossible, absolutely impossible for him to have a relationship with these children, which is probably why now you're seeing the kids recoil from him and not want to have a relationship with him because he was an absent father. There's no way you're not an absent father when you're not home 4 days out of the week. And when you are there, you're there for a few hours, you eat, you go to bed, and you leave. It's just, the kids, it's a revolving door of dad, and they're constant as their mom. So, long story short, Christine, don't expect Robyn and Janelle to be coming together and singing and cooking and becoming best friends. I think that ship has long sailed. And this whole married idea, this naive idea of sister wives getting along just is not realistic. Sharing a husband is not natural. And what you're seeing on TV is really more of the reality now of sister wives and polygamy. And that is that it doesn't work. It's hard on everyone, and everyone suffers. All right, you guys, tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.